Awesome. Yeah, let's get it started. The video is starting to record, so let's get this kicked off. Identity, it's nothing new on the internet. Everybody's been identifying themselves on the internet since, Web 1. It's just evolved to now owning your identity, right? Before we start with the conversation, I'd love for everyone to go around and just introduce yourself. We could start with Harry, then Leo, then Kaspar, then Kevin, and then sort of I'll give my intro, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, I'll go first. Hi everyone, my name is Harry. I'm the co-founder for Project Galaxy. So at Galaxy, we are building the infrastructure to power a credential data network that's open and collaborative. So we're basically building the infrastructure to get these aggregated layer of identity information in Web3. Yeah.
I'm Leo. I'm the VP engineering of Harmony protocol. So Harmony is the layer 1 protocol. We provide the EVM compatibility and the faster finality.
I guess it's my turn. Hey everyone, I'm Kaspar. I'm the co-founder of Wolf3D. Wolf3D is the company that's building Ready Player Me, and Ready Player Me is like it's a cross-game avatar platform for the Metaverse. The platform is used by more than, I don't know, like 800, 900 companies across gaming, social, virtual worlds. And our goal really is to, become the avatar platform, become like the identity layer for anything Metaverse related or virtual worlds related.
Hey everyone, I'm Kevin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Pianity. Pianity is a marketplace, a music NFT marketplace, where we allow musicians to turn their track into limited editions and to sell them to their fans.
Awesome. And I am Dwight. I am the CEO and co-founder of Mint Songs. We help music artists build Web3 communities that they fully own without any intermediaries. So excited to get this panel going. It's an interesting group here. We have folks that are working on the infrastructure side. We have folks working on the music NFT side. We have folks working on the cross-platform gaming side. It's going to be an interesting conversation. And really, I want to start with Harry and Leo. How does identity in Web3 influence the way that you build infrastructure? What are the ways that the NFT space has evolved, and how do you guys basically mold your product roadmaps to accommodate for this sort of boom in identity in Web3?
Okay, I guess I'll go first. So when we talk about identity, we don't only mean your identifier, right? We also mean any information that tells who you are. We use these type of data every day in Web2 or in IRL. For example, information like your educational background, your driver's lesson, and Web2 giants like Google or Facebook have these data that they run algos with to help them to run which ads they want to show you, right? So one of the less efficient part about identity layer in Web2 is that we don't have an aggregated layer of information for every application to query from. Because everything is permissioned, these information are segregated in all the applications across Facebook, Instagram, credit bureau, and all of these services. I think that's going to change in Web3 because everything in Web3 is permissionless. We finally have a way for us to build the infrastructure to power an aggregated layer of identity information. I think this is going to be a huge improvement because we finally have a way for applications to query who you are from an aggregated layer of data. So that's going to greatly improve innovation and efficiency for applications in Web3.
So identity in Web3, I think we are still pretty early. Why? Think about in Web2, the identity is easily accessible and usable. In Web3, unfortunately, it is not, right? So right now with identity and Web3, most people use like a wallet. Your wallet address is one of your key identity on the Web3 world. But the wallet easily usable and accessible by everyone? I think most people will say like no, right? So a lot of people like they don't know how to understand like a mnemonic private key, which makes much harder to use and to reach to the massive adoption. So from the infrastructure perspective, right? So how many building the infrastructure? We want to provide the identity, at least on the wallet level, make it easier to use and also to lower the barrier for normal people to enter the Web3 world. That's something like from the infrastructure layer. I think that's something we have to keep building. We're still like the early stage to provide the identity to everyone. To crypto native, it's easy because you already been there. But to reach to the massive adoption, it still needs quite a lot of effort for everyone to build, make it easy and accessible.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. It's we're at the bottom of the mountain looking up right now, and you know, in a couple years, all of us in this chat will be more evolved in product and in thought on you know Web3 identification. I think Harry, you talked about it really well. You know, like the data is there, it's transparent, it's on the blockchain, but there aren't the aggregation layers to help say who is Harry Zhang in the Web3 space. Like, where are all the
Right.
touch points of his, and where can we see that in one place? I think it's super important. And I think, you know, segueing into sort of Kaspar and Kevin, you know, helping onboard the next sort of million to billion people into the Web3 space so that they can start building identities here is important. And they both have, you know, interesting angles. Kevin with music, Kaspar with, you know, the gaming avatar side. And I'd love to hand it off to you guys. You know, how do you all see identity working with, you know, your respective industries in gaming and in music?
You want to go ahead, Kaspar?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like when we think about identity, we think about like what's like, how do you present yourself online? Like what are the kind of things that, you know, make other people recognize you? And especially if we're talking about like virtual worlds, gaming, metaverse, you know, the thing that represents people in those 3D environments is an avatar, like three-dimensional representation of you. There are over like 3 billion gamers out there, and it's ever growing. So there's a lot of people who are accustomed to having an avatar represent themselves online. And I think like what we've seen happening is, you know, avatars in a sense are also coming, you know, they're forming like a bridge between like Web3 to Web, from Web2 to Web3, because avatars in itself are a vehicle for a lot of NFTs, the assets that are wearable on the avatars themselves, that you know, provides the end user true ownership of the things that they own. You know, Ready Player Me today has over like 800, 900 companies that are using it. It's really across the board. It's gaming, it's music, it's virtual concerts, it's social apps, dating apps, and like business environments, and you name it. So we're seeing a lot of adoption happening in all kinds of different places. And given that there's a very large user base who's already used to using avatars from their childhood by playing games as their identity, we just can build on top of this and make their experience more consistent. Now, the way we think about identity is we want to give the user like true ownership of their identities, because what you're seeing happening today is if you're playing from game to game, you start building your identity from scratch. Go to Roblox, build an identity there. To go to some other game or experience, you need to start building your identity from scratch again. It really doesn't make sense. It's like in Web2 experiences, you really can take your visual, what makes you look like you, like your profile picture, from experience to experience. It makes sense. It's your identifiable. We have certain things and elements based on which we build up our online personas, and those online personas need to be recognized in all of the different experiences. And that's really what we're trying to do with Ready Player Me, is to give this person one consistent identity that they can use across different experiences. and have like true ownership over their identity that they've created for the online world.
Yeah, and I would say to me, so I agree. Like for example, I think like the wallet address is like level 0 of identity because it's quite empty. It's like a blank page. And if you want, you can actually have multiple blank page. But what is interesting is what you write on those pages. And so right now we talk a lot about, like CryptoPunks and people showing their profile pictures, showing like punks as their profile picture or bored apes or whatever. But to me, it's very similar as if in real life you were buying an expensive car and you were driving with it. It's not really your identity, right? It's just you are showing off maybe like that you were wealthy enough to buy this car, but it's not really you. It's like what you show off. When you meet people for the first time, when you date or whatever, usually the first questions that come up is, what kind of music do you like? What kind of movies do you watch? What kind of TV show do you like, etc. And I think this is like the real identity of the person. It's not what you can buy, it's really like what you like. And so what I think is, so this blank page, which is your wallet, if on it you can add stuff that corresponds to what you like to do, what you like to watch, then you are truly, creating your identity there. And it's not, a Facebook page where we can see your like, shares, and follow, because like, share, and follow, we can put a like on everything. We don't really care. However, when you buy something, like when you buy, like in the past, when you bought a CD collection or like a manga collection or whatever, it was really to show in your bedroom or in your apartment, like what you really like and what you can relate to. And to me, NFTs right now are exactly this. It's a way to show what you truly care about and what you are, basically.
Yeah, no, I love that. And piggybacking off it, I think, what we see in the physical space is going to be mirrored on the internet, whether it's FaceTime and interacting with someone in person, or Amazon and going to a retail store. NFTs are just the flip version of the scarce physical products that you identify yourself with. If I go into one of your houses, I see the books on your shelf and the DVDs on your shelf and the paintings on your walls. Like that's what you identify with in the physical space. And I think increasingly more so, people are going to want these pieces in their digital space so that you can identify with it there. And one question I want to pose to all of you is, in Web3, ownership is super important, and ownership is mediated by tokenomics and the blockchain. So how does the economics of, say, Bored Ape Yacht Club or Punks, both having just 10,000, how does that sort of seep into identity? How does tokenomics seep into the identity, and how has that sort of affected the way people collect and identify with on the internet?
I guess I'll go first. So for apes and punks, sorry. So for apes and punks, they both only have like 10K copies, right? I don't think that's a really good gateway for mass users to come in and adopt these identity standards. So these are more like some very exclusive clubs that shows you're a crypto OG. It shows who you are, but that's not for the mass users. In terms of tokenomics, I think it's really important to have this economic system for everyone to build these identity systems together, right? We finally have a infrastructure for you to own your identity on chain, for you to grant these access to the applications that you want. And you should be able to monetize from these information, right? So right now, these information are monetized by the Web2 giants like Facebook or Google. And in Web3, you finally get a chance to monetize yourself if you want to, right? So I think that's one of the biggest part that tokenomics came in is we need to have the infrastructure that has this economic group where it's incentivized for people to come in and contribute these identity information, and it's also incentivized for or it's for people who come in and use it, they can pay to those who own these data, or they can pay to those who come in and curate these data. So yeah, so I guess the tokenomics side of how Web3 can power these infrastructure is great in this sense.
Yeah, I mean, like the way we think about identities, like identity online is an extension of your real identity. And you know, most people also, I assume in this group, you have multiple identities online. You have your crypto identity, you have your basically your friend's family identity. Like it's a different version of yourself. So just to give you an example from applications from Web 2, like the Kaspar on the Instagram is a different Kaspar on LinkedIn or Twitter. Like the LinkedIn Twitter Kaspar is more like the Metaverse entrepreneur guy, and the Instagram guys is a different guy. Those are different identities that I've formed over the years. Now, when it comes to NFTs, again, like coming back to my earlier point, we think about avatars as a vehicle for NFTs. We actually think it's good that a lot of those collections, either it be punks or apes or kongs, that they have limited supply. It creates scarcity. So what a lot of things that we are doing in this space is giving those communities, we give them actual utility by turning those identities into avatars that can be used now in thousands upon thousands applications that are 3D applications. So you can literally take your whatever identity you have, release it with the NFT drop with Deadmau5, and now you can use the Deadmau5 NFT that you purchased in Somnium Space, in all of the different kind of like applications that we have, Hyper, you know, Pixel Links or whatever. And that's kind of like when you're building your identity in that particular new world, you can bring all of your collectibles on your avatar and have them as a way to show off that I belong in like how I mentioned, like in a punk club. I'm the OG, so you get immediate respect. And you know, there's also this thing online right now where whenever you're interacting with people and you see kind of like, you know, someone with crypto when writing, you have like this immediate validation that, you know, this person probably has been in the space for a long time, so they probably know something. So you should kind of like, you know, have a conversation with them. So it's like the same way as you have like following on Twitter or Instagram. Those NFTs will bring you as what they consider like social credibility that you've built that you can use for you know, whatever way you want.
From the adoption perspective, I think that's why I say we are still early. I see this 10K of punk and ape. You think about their owner actually is less than 10K as well. So not like they're 10K owner of the punk. Mm-hmm. But that's why it's still early. But think about every new identity or new thing come up, there's always going to be a group of a pioneer. So they were like a showcase to the world that this could be the new thing. And for example, like a cell phone comes out, how many people have cell phone? So, and then gradually everybody has cell phone. So when people use NFT as an identity, initially like nobody gonna care, but only when there's like a KOL and also celebrity, they start to showcase, and the people say, oh, that could be the cases and could be useful. I think that's why I feel like it was still early, but we are at a critical stage to have those like pioneer to showcase this is the way, and this can be really work out. Of course, I think the solution to have everyone with their NFT as identity, I think is not there yet. We don't know the answer yet. I think probably like there could be different way of creating like the avatar you mentioned, right? So it could be something like Apple, their iPhone, they can create an avatar based on your real image. So those make it more easily accessible for everyone. That can be also used as identity. But to use those like expensive NLP as identity, that could be just show your OG space, and may not be applicable to everyone.
Yeah, to me, I'm not sure, CryptoPunks or whatever are here to build your identity. Again, I think it's just about, for most of the people, or at least the one I see most often, is like about to show off, so I'm not really sure about this. What I think is, like if in the future, like to go to an event, you need, to buy the ticket and it's in your wallet, for example, or like to enter a space, basically you use your wallet, then it's something you don't really pay. It can be like a free event or whatever, but there would be an history on your wallet about like what you attended, for example. I think this is more related to your identity than anything expensive that you can buy. So yeah, I think, so I agree we are early, of course, but I think the identity, so right now, I think most of the application we have are for the crypto community, and not really for people who don't know how a wallet works, for example, or who don't even know like what I don't know, Ethereum is. And I hope that in the next years, most people will have actually a wallet and an online identity without exactly knowing that, because maybe they will never see their private keys or their public keys. They will just use email and password again to log in to Web3. But they will still be able to build their identity, and it will still be decentralized, and it will still live on the blockchain like we do it today.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head, right? Like, when you guys, we're super early here. The ways that you can identify are vast, right? Like, I can identify with my favorite songs on Pianity. I can identify with, my favorite games and the things that I wear in other games on Wolf 3D and Ready Player Me. And then there's like a vast amount of other data points that I can aggregate to show my identity, and that's really Harmony and Harry, your project. And I think over time, it's all going to melt together. I think, Kevin, you said it right. Like, we're not going to think about what wallet or like what's a wallet, right? It's just going to be part of us in the same way that an email is just the way that we identify and interact on Web 2. So yeah, it's going to evolve. We're at the start of it, and it's super exciting. And putting the excitement on the side for a second, as my last question for us, what do you guys see as existential problems for identity in Web3 and identity on the internet in particular? We have the ability to be anonymous here and pseudonymous. So what are the existential crises that you guys see possibly forming up, and how do we battle them, and how do we get through it?
To me, I think the problem is identities on Web3 are permanent. So actually, yeah, as you said, like you can build your identity online, but then it's permanent. You can't change it. You can erase it and start over with a new wallet if you want to. But as you said, Kaspar, you can't really have anymore, like this, be on this social network and have this kind of identity, and be on this other one and have this other one identity, unless you do it from different wallets, right? But if you do it from the same, then you are building your identity. And I don't know, if at some point you make a mistake or you regret something, you can't really erase it. You can't, as you would, like erase your social media. I'm sure you have a lot of friends that erased all their photos on Facebook or Instagram in the past, and just to start over. Here you would have to do like a completely new account, right? So I think that is probably one of the limitations. I don't know if it's good or if it's bad, but that's probably one major difference with Web 2.
Okay, I'd like to go first. So I think as an infrastructure builder, actually I'm more excited on the Web3 identity than Web2 because we have more primitive and more tool to be able to protect the anonymous and also use as identity. Think about the zero knowledge proof. That's one of the key technology innovation. And in the cryptographic, that you can release that you can identify yourself, but without release your real data and the real identity over there. So I think that those kind of a tool and on-chain primitive it's still ongoing, right? Still being development stage. But in the next few years, those tool and those surrounding application will be developed so that we can have a better version of the identity in Web3 than Web2 world. Because in Web2, it's fully controlled by those like a centralized company and the leakage that you won't be able to control. And Web3, you have the ownership. And with the infrastructure providing all those tools and the primitive, that you can control what kind of information you want to share and also how to share that. That's why I feel like I'm pretty excited on this. So guys, I have to leave early because I have other appointments. So I'm really happy in this panel.
Leo, thank you for joining us and have a great rest of your day, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Leo on that. We really do need a private layer of blockchain for us to power these all of your private data, right? So right now we don't really we can't have everything that's public, like your healthcare information or your data on all the applications are meant to be private, and you should be able to grant these access to other applications if you want to choose to grant these access. And you should be able to choose to keep them to yourself. And I think we do need this private layer of blockchain for us to power a full extensible identity layer for everyone to utilize from. Right now, I think everyone is still focusing on the public data side where all of your transactional data on chain or all your public data on Twitter, on GitHub. But going forward, in order for every application to adopt to this identity layer, I think a private blockchain that's permissionless is very important.
You're muted.
I'm muted. I guess it's really early to say. I can't think of like real like existential crisis type of topics to kind of like point out. I think Kevin made a good point about like starting scratch with your identity. That's something I've personally actually done myself. I've kind of like been collecting certain type of things, and then this kind of collection in particular wallet didn't really match what I was trying to do, so I had to really start from scratch and transfer all of that there. Thankfully, it's relatively easy to do that. But I guess with all of the kind of like topics we've discussed today here, like identity really can mean a lot of different things. We were talking about identity as in things that make you who you are, or identity as in how other people perceive you. I think something very interesting we'll be seeing happening is the more and more people adopt this, online persona as their primary identities, how they're going to cope in real world with identity that's not really kind of corresponding with what they've built online, and how they're going to manage all of this, because there's a lot of people who've created their like real online personas that really do not match anything in that they have in real world with how they've built out their persona and how other people perceive them. So that's going to be really interesting shift. It's not going to be something new. It's been done in Web2 as well, but Web3 enables that even more. So it would be interesting to see if what's going to happen there.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you there. I think, our physical identities and our digital identities are sort of gonna melt and merge together until it meets in the middle, and that's really what we're going to be, right? Like we are the identities that we have on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and then now Web3 is going to be an extra identity of ours where we own things, and we in the same way that we own things in our house. It's like, this is our house on the internet. These are the things that we have around us that we identify with. So no, closing remarks here. I really enjoyed talking with you all. I love, you know, the project that you're building over there at Galaxy, Harry, in dealing with sort of the more broader data set, and then with Kaspar on the identity layer in gaming, and then Kevin with music. I think the Web3 way to identify yourself is going to mirror the way that you identify with yourself in the physical space. It's going to be complex and nuanced, and there's not going to be one thing that is this is my identity. It's just going to be an amalgamation of everything that we're doing here in the Web3 space that will coalesce into a certain identity. But yeah, no, thank you so much for being on this panel with me. I loved the thoughts and I love the convos, and excited to stay connected with y'all. It's been a great chat.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dwight.
Awesome.
There
Thank you
is
all.
this.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
have a great one.